So now I want to look at something that's been around our universities for the last couple of decades called critical race theory. And Wikipedia has a definition of critical race theory as follows, saying it is a cross-disciplinary examination by social and civil rights scholars and activists of how laws, social and political movements, and media shape and are shaped by social conceptions of race and ethnicity. And we can see there this bookstall that's on Wikipedia with a black fist like this, and so this is a radical movement that's rebelling against our Western Christian society that white people have shaped for the last centuries. And so now we're being undermined by all the ethnic groups that have come into our society who are coming up with these ideas like critical race theory. So I want to use scientific evidence in the form of archaeological evidence and also the DNA haplogroups which show the migrations of the people groups or races around the world. And I'd like to begin by looking at this idea that mankind has been on Earth for the last 65,000 years and evolved from apes somewhere there in Africa. If mankind has been living for 65,000 years on Earth, then we would have the evidence, but we don't. There would be fossils and archaeological evidence showing this progression. In fact, the lack of evidence in the fossils prove that no genetic or evolutionary process exists to be able to create new species. Scientists rely on amoeba to show the most basic form of life, but even an amoeba has a complex molecule called a nucleus, where another complex molecule called DNA is found. Without DNA, nothing can reproduce. Scientists have no process available to show us or prove that even an amoeba can create itself out of organic matter, with a cell wall and cell fluid and a nucleus all existing at the same time simultaneously. A more complex cell has about 16 characteristics that need to simultaneously exist. All the subsequent fossils found are either human or ape. Nothing transitional has been found, and no evidence belonging to Lucy has shown genetically altered DNA somewhere between the two species of man and ape. Lucy, Oma, and Neo all look like ape skeletons, so why not just call them ape and not humans? Charles Darwin said the most obvious and damaging argument against my theory is the lack of transitional fossils. And ever since he made that statement, certain scientists have scrambled to find the missing link, which are evidence of transitional fossils. Even Lucy has a big toe that is curved like an ape, and so probably lived in trees, unlike a human who by definition walks upright on the ground. As you can see, Lucy's skeleton is missing its backbone, so I'm still trying to find the evidence of Homo erectus. So why not let us all agree that Lucy is an ape, not a human? And no DNA evidence belonging to Lucy has shown genetically altered DNA somewhere between the two species, man and an ape. I can't find any report showing any actual DNA results or examination of the dating techniques, and carbon dating is no longer deemed credible because, one, there is no control situation to guarantee that the result is right, and number two, if you take any living material such as a fish out of the ocean and carbon date it, it will tell you that it's several hundred years old. Let us look instead for evidence of civilizations of mankind that go back 65,000 years, as this map with arrows shows you.
This is the ancient site of Jericho.
The earliest sign of civilization is in Turkey, they say, and this site they think goes back 20,000 years. And scientists say Jericho is an example of a city going back 10,000 years, when in fact we know from the Old Testament that Jericho's walls fell down 1406 BC, and the walls have been found. In the Jericho example, we actually do have a control to the experiment, which shows the 10,000-year-old city to be more likely 4,000 years old at the most. The language we see on this diagram, if you look back at it, says alternative route, possible location, and an admixture. So there's no actual evidence, just a theory. For the outer Africa theory to be true, then all mankind would have an African patriarch and matriarch. But DNA evidence points to African DNA belonging to the E haplogroup. Immediately we can establish that the outer Africa theory is a complete lie. Here is what Wikipedia has conjured up. If you look at the haplogroups common to America, for example, we see completely different DNA to what the African DNA is.